How's it going, ladies and Bruces? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to the life and suffering of Sir Brante. We have cast ourselves in with the Lotless, and apart from the fact that Sophia's kind of a dick, I don't really regret it. Although we gotta overthrow her ass, you know. The ranks of the Lotless are growing steadily now. It's getting harder and harder to breathe in your makeshift meeting hall. People are coming from all across Eterna. Most of them are commoners, labourers, craftsmen, eager students, and all of them feel that the social order based on the Lots is out of date. They are always discussing this, both at the major meetings and one-on-one. How can you change society without taking up arms? How can you defend those who suffer at the nobles' hands? You write several articles for a newspaper that are sympathetic to your cause. You cover the pages of the Imperial Sunrise with freedom-loving ideas. But before your words reach the printed page, you let Sophia read them. I like your articles, they really sting. They burn with genuine fervour and true audacity. And most importantly, you've been calling for action more and more. Our cause is just, and I know it well, but your words light a fire in men's hearts. They bring hope for change. I'd never be able to do this without you, Brante. Thank you. It's time for another meeting of the Lotless. Sophia calms the crowd before she begins. My friends, it is time for us to act. We are strong, we are united, we are many. Our cause is just. Your words are met with cries of support, and your voice joins them. Sophia smiles, but there is still a hard, controlled edge in her eyes. 1 month from now, the Empire will hold the ritual of purification in St. Ignatius' Square. Mages and witches who refuse to repent and wear collars will be murdered in a public execution. The church is preparing carefully for this. But these witches never asked for this. They were branded at birth. Our lot is to suffer, but theirs is something far worse. The Inquisition's collar takes away everything. Your family, your estate, your free, your will. A mage becomes a weapon for the Inquisition. They're stripped of their lots and placed in this world. Mages are the true Lotless. A witch's collar is the worst prison of all. We must set them free. Their freedom will mark the beginning of freedom for the entire Empire. The cries of approval died down. Nobody in the crowd mumbled. Notice, replaced by a crowing mumble of confusion. Nobody in the room wants to openly defy the Inquisition. Sophia raises her hand, her eyes glinting in the reflected golden candlelight. The room falls silent. We are not going to wage war against the Inquisition. What we are going to do is hold a march to support the mages. This will be our statement. We will see the support of Patriarch Junius Diamant. He says that those who wield magic have the same rights as anyone else in the Empire. He seeks to give mages the freedom to find their own way to the twins. We are going to show the Patriarch that we have heard his words and are ready to openly heed his call. I am a mage myself. He took off my collar and allowed me to choose my own path. I'm going to give every mage and witch the same chance. Nobody ever chooses to be born with magic, but mages have the right to choose to abandon their power and follow the twins. Our cause is just. Sophia lets the others speak their mind. Some fully support the march, others hesitate, unsure of what to do. There's also a small group of people who reject the idea outright. Magic is evil, they say. Witches are dangerous. Supporting witches means defying the twins. Sophia leans over them. Angry sparks dance in her eyes. I am a witch, and yet you followed me. You chose to trust me, and there is no time left for doubt. If you're not ready to walk this road, it would be best for you to leave the Lotless right away. Several people leave the hall, some of them ashamed, others grim. They all get a parting message from Sophia. Her cries ring through the basement and out into the street. You will tell them nothing. Everyone else grows quiet. This is the first time anyone has seen the leader of the Lotless shout like that. Sophia drops back into her chair and asks everyone except for you and 3 others to leave. You know these 3 Lotless. Sophia uses them for special assignments. You get ready to hear what she has to say. The goal of our march is to get Junius Diamant's attention. We need his patronage. It is essential that he hear about us and support our movement. Without his aid and influence, our fight is doomed. With that, Sophia starts giving orders. She sends a young man to get collars, tells a lively girl to gather people and prepare banners, and instructs a lean Legion soldier to plan out the shortest route and best location to begin the march. Then Sophia dismisses them. It is only the 2 of you now. The basement room you use as a meeting hall grows empty and quiet, and you finally notice how tiny and exhausted Sophia looks. Dark rings encircle her eyes, and her skin is grey as parchment. She works so hard for your sake. After a moment of quiet, Sophia speaks to you about the Imperial Legion. I don't want to scare the others too soon, but I think you know what I'm going to say. If they have trained legionnaires guarding the square instead of prefecture gendarmes, the soldiers won't stand on ceremony. Some people might die during this march. You spend half the night planning escape routes in case you have to run for your lives. By the time the plan is finally ready, both of you are on the verge of nodding off. This is one more thing Sophia wants to discuss, however. Many people have joined the Lotless over the past few weeks, but we still don't have enough members. We need to attract other people on the street in order to make our march stronger. People need to see that we aren't just misfits. Sophia has 2 ideas for attracting more people to the march, but you only have enough time to implement one of them. You could call upon the commoners who support the doctrine of Patriarch Photis to join the march. Plenty of people in Eterna had to suffer at the hands of the Inquisition, back when the new faith first emerged. Those who rejected the lots were treated as heretics and punished accordingly. Alternatively, you could seek support from the clergy and nobles. Even among them, many have relatives and friends who have suffered at the hands of the Inquisition. We should definitely try and recruit nobles into the cause. And we know a few people. We know some people. That's why we should have become a noble still. That would have been much greater power to the cause, you know what I mean? Sophia looks up from her papers. The circles around her eyes are even darker now. She's barely reacting to the world around her. She is but a shadow of the confident young leader of the Lotless you saw speak at the meeting. She lights her pipe and throws herself back into her chair, her eyes half lidded, looking utterly exhausted. It seems this decision is yours. Show Sophia your support. Oh man, we're really good at that though. This gets us to theology though, that could be useful. Now diplomacy is very high. Not as high as our manipulation. Alright, let's mobilize the nobles and the clergy. You spend more time writing a list of people who might show support for the cause of the Lotless. You compose the invitations for the march, carefully crafting each individual letter. You only choose priests who have criticized the lots or sided with Patriarch Junius at least once. As for the nobles, you only choose those whose family members accuse them of sorcery. There are only few of them. It takes you and Sophia until early morning to slowly gather information about the arrests of nobles accused of sorcery. Sophia rejects some of their names outright. I don't trust that Faber. His brother got executed, sure, but everyone knows that they were never on good terms. Levitt's out too. He spoke in support of Patriarch Junius, but he'll never march with the lowborn. You agree. The march must succeed, even if it means sending out a few fewer invitations. Sophia has barely enough strength left to smile as you say goodnight at dawn. Go get some sleep, Brante. There won't be much time for that in the weeks to come. You watch her walk away in the morning light, amazed how strong she is. A few years ago, she was just an ordinary girl next door. Start buffing that theology as well, you know? The capital was preparing for a great celebration, the coming of age of Gerian Tempest, heir to the throne. Ribbons and flags flutter in the wind, the streets are scrubbed clean, and the scent of flowers fills the air. You too set some time aside to join the celebration. It is not often that you can see the ruling family of the Empire firsthand. The celebration day comes and Eterna is abuzz. A festive procession starts on the streets. Students from the college and cadets from the military academy march in front, lined up in columns, and other citizens follow suit. You join the parade around the tail of the procession. Before long, it reaches the square in front of the Emperor's palace. The ruling dynasty of Tempests observes the parade from the palace balcony. They are joined by the Empire's highest dignitaries and province overseers. For the first time in your life, you see Emperor Uther II with your own eyes, there, high up above. The columns of college students and academy cadets come to a halt at the balcony and salute the Emperor with their mottos. The Emperor raises his hand in a gesture of benevolent greeting. Then his voice echoes across the square. You can hear him easily, even from so far away. I accept your gratitude, my loyal subjects. Take pride as you wield your knowledge and valor in service of the Empire. All who are worthy will be ennobled by the mantle, by my grace. The nobles-to-be cheer the Emperor's words, but then Archduke Monrogue steps onto the balcony, and their jubilation gives way to murmurs of discontent. Everyone here remembers all too well how the ruler of Monia tried to shut down the college by force. Still, the Archduke is the de facto leader of the Arknian gentry. He is a force to be reckoned with, even for the Emperor. Hail your Emperor, common folk. Be forever obedient and grateful for the good graces you do not deserve by birth. But then everyone grows silent. A young slender Arknian with a shy smile comes forth. There are whispers in the crowd. That's Prince Gerian, heir to the throne, student of Cornelius, promise and hope of the common estate. To the left of Gerian is his younger brother Flavius, He is baffled at the sight of the parade below, too young to process what he's seeing. May the twins be kind to you, my future subjects. I promise to repay you in kind and help you prosper in your loyal service to the Empire. Exalted by these words, the nobles to be roar as one. All hail Prince Gerion. Another figure steps into view next to the heir. He is an Arknian, elegantly dressed, and his mantle bears the Tempest colours. He raises his arms, about to make a speech. Long live Prince Gerion, students of the college, cadets of the academy, time and again you have proven yourselves to the Empire by word and deed. Today is a day of great celebration, and in honour of Prince Gerion, you must ask the Emperor to guarantee forever the right to distinguished common folk to be ennobled by the mantle, so ask now. The cadets and students freeze in hesitation. They exchange glances, unsure whether to follow the words of the Emperor's own brother. On the balcony high above, Prince Gerion also remains still, listening to every reaction from the crowd. Archduke Monroe briskly steps into view once more. He takes several seconds to observe the crowd before he speaks. Imperial subjects, what the Emperor's brother wishes to say is that you must always remember that you owe your status to the Tempest dynasty. The Emperor accepts your gratitude and sends you off with his blessing. You may leave now. Commotion and murmurs spread over the crowd as some of the nobles-to-be refuse to follow Archduke Monroe's order. There are shouts heard here and there. The law, we ask for the law. The academy officers and teachers of the college urge them to fall in line and resume the parade, but tension is rising. The crowd slowly grows enraged and unruly. An Imperial Guard cavalry regiment emerges from the palace. They start slowly advancing on the crowd, hands on their swords, pushing people out of the square. The commoners are now running left and right. You too have to move away. This quickly quells the commotion in the square and the cavalry withdraws. Emperor Uther II appears on the balcony again. Archduke Monroe stands by his side. The square falls silent at the sight of the sovereign. My subjects, I can see how overjoyed you are for Prince Gerion, but your show of reverence and gratitude was clear enough. Now obey my will, continue the parade and sing the praises of the Tempest dynasty that has given you so much. The square obediently lines up in the columns once again. The bout of defiance is in the past now, as they resume the festive parade throughout the city streets. Glory to Emperor Uther, glory to Prince Gerion. Power down. Power down. It's under 9,000. There are days when you receive letters from home. Father's writing is very reserved. He mostly discusses events and work in Magara and writes very little about the family. It makes me proud that I have managed to teach Stefan how to handle our affairs at home. Your older brother behaves impeccably at the society balls and receptions that we host. He has already made several crucial acquaintances. But Gloria has a different opinion of Stefan. She thinks your older brother is taking more and more after grandfather. Stefan is a lot like grandfather. It's in his manners, his posture, his voice. He even dresses just like him. He used to be aloof around me, and we barely talked in the past. But now he always blames me and tears me apart. I can't take it anymore. He walks all over me all the time and treats me like a housemaid. Mother writes to you from her letters, and you learn that Nathan just barely managed to graduate from school. It makes me sad to admit that Nathan has none of the talents you have. The other day he told me that he won't even try to study at the capital. He says he won't be able to pass the exams. I find solace only in the nights that Nathan and I spend together reading the scriptures and our walks to the church by the silver tree. He accompanies me every time. He could be a priest, make him a priest. Your sister and younger brother write about Mother too, and they say the same thing about her health. She now spends more time locked away in her chambers to brood. Gloria does her best to accompany Mother when she leaves home, and Nathan's letters mention her steps echoing in the halls in the middle of the night. There is one more thing Nathan mentions in his letters. Stefan and Gloria have been fighting very often these days. Stefan always tries to get under Gloria's skin. My voice just cracked. Maybe puberty's finally happening. I wouldn't know. And she answers him in kind. Then Stefan calls her a lowly commoner to make her shut up. You always tremble in excitement each time you see a new letter with the seal of your home province. Your fate is still bound tightly to your families, no matter the distance between you. Oh, that went down? I haven't even talked to him. Fucking hell. Aw, man. Come on. Just because I'm not around, you guys like me less? This is the morning you've all been preparing for. One of the houses in downtown Eterna is packed with a crowd of people. Everyone puts collars on their necks. There are not enough for everyone, so the rest of them cover their necks with scarves and belts and anything else that looks dark against the skin. There are so many faces, even faces you've never seen before. People of all estates have come here today. You flow out into the street. People keep coming to join the crowd even as you start walking. There are shouts in the crowd now. Our cause is just. These words fill you with confidence, help you remain composed. Everyone is smiling. You march in the front row. The feeling is indescribable. Change is coming. We're not going to be smiling when they come out here and start kicking the shit out of us, but you know, okay. The square is already covered with stacks of firewood for the fires. You see people in collars tied to wooden stakes, with inquisitors busy around them. The fiery execution is almost ready to begin. Your path is blocked. Imperial Legion soldiers stand guard on all the streets leading to the square. The crowd keeps pushing. There are cries on the streets now. Mages and witches are children of gods. Give the witches back their lives, down with the shackles of the lots. The cries of the lotless fill St. Ignatius' square. A legionnaire yells over the mob and orders you to stand aside before they draw their swords, and then you hear a scream right next to you. We've got them outnumbered. We're going through them. Her voice rings in your head and fills you with a fury and faith in victory. It's because she's casting magic on us. And you run right straight at a legionnaire's sharp sword. But suddenly a hand catches you and pulls you back. You see Sophia now, her eyes burning with golden light. The ecstatic, furious mob flows around her and toward the unnerved legionnaire. Sophia's face looks inhuman now, her grin predatory. We saw that coming. The legionnaire swings his sword at the maddened mob, but he is quickly knocked off his feet. His fellow soldiers guarding the square lock their shields together and draw their swords. There is a look of bewilderment in the Inquisitor's eyes. It seems none of them expected such frenzy. Sophia leads the attack. By leads, you mean forces them to attack. She's like the main character in a fucking RTS game, just ordering units around. Set the sufferers free. Junior's diamond is on our side. The twins are our shields. Any idea of a peaceful march is now thrown to the wind. Sophia is about to send the lotless against the lines of the legionnaires. Only seconds, moments are left until they strike. You have to be there in the front lines. Or will you try to stop her and avoid further bloodshed? There is still time. Or will you execute the plan yourself and free the captives from the funeral pyres on your own? That seems like a bad idea. Someone gets a true death. Alright, let's go hold Sophia back. I can do with the extra point in eloquence and manipulation as well. We gotta boost those stats, man. You grab Sophia by the shoulders and demand to stop this madness. If she keeps spurring people on, it will only lead to bloodshed. She says it for you a moment, and then stops shouting. It is not the crowd that you must command right now, you tell Sophia. She should focus on the legionnaires who are blocking your way. They're confused. They want no bloodshed. They will break ranks and retreat. If only she can convince them. Sophia holds her arms up and approaches the legionnaires. The sun is shining in her eyes. Enough. We're not here for bloodshed. We are here to end it. These people are angry, but theirs is a righteous anger. The people on those pyres are their children, their relatives, their loved ones. They are innocent souls. Anyone can be born a mage. None of these people chose to be this way. Sophia's speech has a strange, almost hypnotic effect on the legionnaires. Some of them suddenly lower their swords. Their ranks are broken. The Inquisitors rush to prevent this, but there are too few of them. The lotless start running for the pyres. Hands start untying ropes and scattering firewood. The mages are free, but they're frightened and confused. A young woman in an Inquisitor's cassock helps another woman with golden hair down from an unlit pyre. Did you just hear her apologize? The Inquisitor looks at you next. Thank you. Cries of victory fill St. Ignatius' square, but your triumph is short-lived. Those cries might be loud, but thundering hooves and clanging steel are louder. You hear Legion cavalry advancing on the square. You glance around and run for the nearest back street. You dash through a house, terrifying its inhabitants, then run through the back door and out into another street. You hear screams and the sounds of clanging metal behind you. So you keep running through the maze of streets, not even bothering to look behind you to see if anyone is in pursuit. You run for as long as you can until your foot catches a loose brick in the road and you almost smash your teeth in. Only then do you stop. It is quiet. You do not recognize this part of Eterna. There is not a soul around you. It is hard to believe that this city can contain both this tranquility and the hell of a few minutes ago. You find a flop house on a nearby street and rent a dirty cubbyhole of a room. No questions asked. You pay for a few days' stay at once. It's a good thing you kept your money on you today. Then you walk upstairs to the room and collapse on the bed. A wave of shakedowns and arrests washes over the capital over the next few days. You wait it out in the room. There is no news about the Lotless. It is as though none of it ever happened. You go to St. Ignatius Square only 3 weeks later. The cobblestones are covered with soot, and you see spots of dried blood. In the bushes nearby, you find several broken collars. Our cause is just. The march in defense of the witches ended in chaos and carnage in the streets of Eterna. Yeah, well that's Sophia's fault. Alyssa's death is prevented. Is that good? I hope that's good. Unless she's going to come back and murder us or something. Who knows? It could happen. She might be an antagonist. Two major events take place while you're busy living your life. Firstly, Cornelius Tempest is no longer the Great Chancellor of the Empire. He has been ousted and sent back to his province. He is replaced, and his replacement is the Archduke of Monia, Agerius Monrogue, the same Monrogue who sought to shut down the college. The most powerful lord in the realm finally convinced the Emperor and his brother that his brother Cornelius was giving too much freedom to the lowborn. Now the policies of the Empire will be reversed. Many fear that the new Great Chancellor will destroy the imperial code of laws and other achievements of Cornelius. There are cautious rumours among the people. They say that the new Great Chancellor is going to revoke the right of the common lot to be ennobled by the mantle. Secondly, Magri, your homeland, now has an overseer, Gaius Tempest, the second brother of Emperor Uther II. Usually the overseer of a province is an archduke. After all, it makes sense for the province's most powerful noble to impart the emperor's will to the locals. Yet now this age-old tradition has been broken, and to no one's surprise, Archduke Tarquinius Melanidas is absolutely furious. Gaius Tempest used to be the main supporter of his brother, former Great Chancellor Cornelius Tempest. The nobles at the Emperor's court say that this is a stratagem by the Arknian gentry who want Gaius removed from court affairs along with Cornelius. Either way, Gaius Tempest and Tarquinius Melanidas will be at each other's throats over the province. This does not bode well for the future. Only one thing is clear, Magri, your home province, is about to face great changes. We should go home then. Weeks pass, then months, and not a word from the Lotless. You have to resort to odd jobs to survive. How much longer will you have to wait? Your hopes of seeing the Lotless return wane more and more with each passing day. You still recall the loss and bloodshed of St. Ignatius Square with pain. What happened to the others? How many of you managed to get away? And, more importantly, what happened to Sophia? More days pass, you hear nothing. You keep returning to the same familiar city streets, glancing at the walls and windows, waiting anxiously for a sign or a familiar face. Then one day you finally see a sign. A yellow towel hanging outside the window. Myra's window. That means tonight. You return to the basement. Only a few people are there. You look into their faces. There are fewer of you now. Some of the Lotless cannot bring themselves to come, and others died back in the square. Sophia sits at the opposite end of the room, like an actor on a stage, her pipe in her hand. A golden ray of sunset has just reached through the basement window to glint in her hair. People are sitting at the benches or leaning against the wall. You sit where you normally do, in the front row, almost in the middle. There are voices, and there are questions. Why did our meeting stop? Where has Sophia been all this time? What do we do now? Sophia stands up and looks straight at you, a golden light glowing in her eyes. I want to ask you all for one last favour. Please, for your own sake, don't do anything foolish. The golden light in Sophia's eyes comes alive and flies through the hall, enveloping the others in a viscous warmth. Your eyelids grow heavy, your mind becomes tangled and slow to react. You can barely stand and your legs feel like they're made of rubber. People in the front rows slump to the floor and there are cries of surprise and confusion from the back rows. What's she doing now? And then you hear heavy, stomping steps. Armed knights clad in black armour enter the basement. The Lotless at the door draw their weapons and are killed instantly. A voice full of steel rings through the room. In the name of Emperor Uther II, the second, you're all under arrest. I knew she'd betray us. She sucks, man. I don't like her from the get-go. Your heart is racing, but the rays of sunlight will not release you from this stupor. You can do nothing but watch as your united brotherhood perishes. This feels like a nightmare. Some run for the tiny windows, others get down on their knees and surrender immediately, others stand or sit still, unsure of what to do. Your former unity is shattered. People you used to call friends and allies now kneel in submission, and those who do not kneel are quickly cut down. There are screams and flashes of steel with then a merciless cry, surrender or face execution. Sophia is no longer glowing, her eyelids are red. She tries to maintain her composure, but you can see her lower lip trembling. Your eyes meet and she looks away. Sophia, but how? Why? Everything ends as quickly as it began. Most of you are arrested. Many are killed. Everyone bound by Sophia's spell is swiftly bound at the wrists and placed against the wall. You know, most of you would rather die fighting, and you would if you were not bound and gagged by magic. They took your choice away from you. These people are well armed, well trained, but you see no signs on their armor. They are not the Legion, nor the Prefecture, nor the Inquisition. Your worst fear has come true. These are the soldiers from the secret chancellery. Your body is bound by magic so strong you cannot even twitch. You are trapped along with the rest of the lotless. There is no escape. You close your eyes. You have to muster all your willpower to drive slumber away. Do you have enough willpower to break Sophia's spell even for a moment? And even if you do, will it even help if you resist? Well, we can definitely do either of these. Fuck Sophia. I'm gonna go with resist Sophia. Never liked her in the first place. Well, she was okay when she was a kid. Out of options, you muster all your will in an attempt to break free from the binding spell. Your voice cuts through the screams and chaos of the basement room. You scream and scream for your fellow lotless to fight until the end. Sophia is a traitor. One day you will get her, and she will pay. Your call inspires some of the lotless to break free from the spell for a few precious moments. They knock down one of the black-clad mercenaries. Another man lunges at Sophia with his bare hands ready to choke her to death. But one of the men in black armor immediately jumps to protect her and greets the unarmed man with his sword. The same bloody fate awaits the others who try to fight. One of the mercenaries slowly walks towards you and kicks you in the gut. You collapse, gasping for air, bound by the spell again. Sophia leans over to you, shaking her head slowly and mournfully. What have you done, you fool? I told you not to do anything foolish. This will only get you hurt. Sophia walks away and the knights in black surround you. They tie you up, tightening the knots around your wrists so hard your fingers turn white, and then kick you in the gut again, for good measure. You're dragged out roughly and thrown into a windowless wagon along with the other lotless. Soon the wagon shifts and starts moving. You are being taken somewhere. Here's how Valor went up again. The secret society of the lotless was struck down by the secret chancellery. Many of the conspirators were captured, and the rest are dead. I'm gonna put her on my shit list. Right at the top of the list, Sophia. Days are followed by nights, nights are followed by new days. You can only tell because of the light coming in through the tiny window near the ceiling. You have spent several months in this cramped cell. It is 5 steps long, 2 steps wide. These walls felt oppressive during your first weeks, but people can get used to anything eventually. They feed you twice a day. They do not answer any questions. They take away the food if you scream too loudly. You think of your family often. How would they react if they heard that you were facing execution for being part of an underground movement? Mother would die from grief. Execution always brings true death. Father's hair would turn white, Gloria would cry, Stefan would rage, and Nathan would become even more isolated. Sophia, how could she do such a thing? She said the lotless were her family. She insisted, and we saved her ass twice. She insisted so much on freeing the innocent mages, she urged you to support Patriarch Junius and the new faith. Sophia said all that, and then she stood there and watched her fellow lotless get killed and arrested, their lives lost, years of work undone and destroyed. Driven mad with rage, you punch the stone wall. Blood spatters from your knuckles. It grows dark again. The lock on the door squeaks and the cell opens. They carry you out by the arms, but you no longer resist. You're sick of this. It's no use anymore. They seat you in the interrogation room. There is a man sitting across you. Plain, well-tailored jacket, pale face with chiseled features, thick black moustache, black eyes watching your every move from their deep sockets. When did the secret chancellery first start watching? When did you become pawns in their game? The nobleman keeps studying you with utter disdain. Even grandfather never looked at you with such a sour scorn. He wears a pendant in the shape of a wheel. His gloved hands rest atop a table with a walking stick leaning against it. Behind him stands Sophia, her head down. I am Baron Philippi El Ferro, advisor to the secret chancellery, but I have a dislike for titles. Call me Sir Philippe. Philippe. That will suffice. I know everything about you, young Brante. Your father and grandfather are loyal servants of the Empire. Your brother is a noble by birth. Where did your life take such a turn? How did you stoop so low? The advisor to the secret chancellery shakes his head, presenting you with a clearly false smile of sympathy. You feel like a student in front of a strict teacher, but you'll not leave this room with a mere flogging. You young people don't even realize what you're doing, openly defying the church and its teachings, openly speaking out against the law, and when Junius Diamond gives you the order, you wreak havoc in the capital, assault priests, and free apostate witches sentenced to execution. Isn't that right, Sophia? Yes, Sir Philippe. It all happened exactly as you said. You shiver with disbelief. There was no order from Junius Diamond. That is not true. It never happened. You look at Sophia, but she will not look at you. Her eyes are only on Baron El Ferro, and he looks at you with a fatherly smile and a ruthless gaze. You're trapped. Now his words will be the truth, and nobody will ever believe anything you say. Funny I could be like you, young Brant, a mere boy who thinks he can change the Empire all on his own, but I suppose it's a good thing I'm not that naive. Otherwise I'd be in your shoes right now, and you'd be dealing with someone far worse than me. There are many things in this world that do not sit well with me either, but unlike your youthful rebellion, my goals are quite clear. My wish is to save the Empire, to save it from the likes of you, people who reject tradition and the laws given to us by the gods, fools who seek to set the mages free, practitioners of the new faith that is destroying the church from within, even if their leader is a patriarch and an Arknian from an ancient dynasty. Few know my methods, and that is why they are effective. Thanks to Sophia and the secret society of hers, we have already managed to gather all the dangerous insurgents together and summarily deal with them in one fell swoop. The heretic Junius Diamond is next in line, but that is none of your concern. Let us speak of your fate now. Philippe produces a folder full of notes and puts it on the table in front of you. The folder bears your name. Your hands shake as you flip through the pages. How you infiltrated the college during the siege, how you helped recruit more people for the Lotless, the articles you wrote for the newspaper, the advice you gave to Sophia, your preparations for the March of the Collars. Your life over the past 3 years is laid down in these pages. Just the records of your presence at the Lotless meeting is enough to sentence you to an execution, but that's the least of what you have done over these years. Your stomach churns. Do not expect your father's authority as a judge to save you from this, Brant. He is just a second-generation judge. A brief note from me and you'll face true death, and then your father and the rest of your peculiar little family as well. What say you? Is there any reason I shouldn't just do that? You can get my father and the rest of my family killed? What the fuck? Sir Philippe, He strikes Sophia swiftly and painfully. Good. She doubles over and clutches at her stomach, gasping for breath. Slowly, Philippe returns his walking stick to its previous position. His gaze never leaves you. I don't remember giving you permission to speak, but very well, I grant it now. Speak. Sophia finally catches her breath and leans against the wall. She looks at you for the first time since the interrogation began. Sir Philippe Brant grew up in Anazot, like me. He's very bright and proven himself to be quite capable since his very first days with the Lotless. You'll find my description of him in my report. He will serve your cause in Magra well. You do not look at Sophia. Her betrayal is the reason you ended up here, but now she's putting herself at risk to save your life. Philippe stares down at you, his chin resting on his fists. Proved himself, you say? Then how about he proves himself to me as well? There are only two ways out of this room, Brant. One leads to the gallows, the other makes you my loyal servant. Thank your childhood friend for this mercy. I will give you one chance, and only one, to prove that you're useful to the secret chancellery. I'm listening. And with that, we're going to wrap this episode up here because we're out of time for today. Fuck Sophia, but I think I said that in the last episode anyway, before she betrayed us. I didn't think she'd do that, honestly, but I just didn't like her because she was sort of acting like she was the noble of the group of Lotless, like she was the boss. You know, anarchists don't have fucking leaders. Otherwise they're not anarchists, you know what I mean? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.